My brother-in-law assaulted me, and the whole family pressured me to keep it a secret. He became even more brazen, and when I resisted, he beat me to death. My sister stuffed me into a bag, and my mother cleaned up the bloodstains. When my father saw my hand move, he picked up an ashtray and smashed it hard against my head, opening my eyes again. I was taking a family photo at my sister's wedding. The little beauty on the left, smile a bit more happily, don't be so stiff. The last bit of air in my lungs drained away, my mouth gaping wide as I lay in the damp soil, screaming silently. All around was boundless darkness. The last moment before losing consciousness, a flash of light appeared. I didn't blink, staring straight ahead. The quiet world suddenly became noisy. The aroma of food and wine, the sound of polite laughter, the cries of children, and my sister's voice full of disdain. "Lena, have you never taken a photo before? Your smile looks like a ghost." She mocked, muttering under her breath, "One bad apple spoils the whole bunch." I glanced at my sister, brother-in-law, dad, and mom. They were dressed in festive clothes, and the big screen displayed every sweet moment of my sister and brother-in-law's love story. "Sorry, sis, should we take another one?" I lowered my head, the corners of my lips curling up. "That's right, I'm the vengeful ghost who came for payback. Forget it, you've never been easy to deal with since childhood, Zoe." "How can you say that about your sister? I think it looks great, especially my Zoe, beautiful as a fairy." "You say I'm like a fairy. Just wait till tonight when I deal with you." "I can't wait for the wedding night right now." My brother-in-law said this while staring at me. My sister blushed and ran off to attend to the guests. I awkwardly tried to leave but was grabbed by the arm. "Aren't you going to thank me?" I forced a smile and timidly said, "Thank you, brother-in-law." He patted my head and said with emotion, "Still just a kid. What did you hear just now?" "Nothing." "I didn't hear anything." My brother-in-law smiled, a closed-lip smile, the corners of his slender eyes stretching outward, his lips curling upward in a deliberately exaggerated arc. He was 38 years old, 12 years older than my sister. In my previous life, I was always deceived by this facade, feeling happy that my sister could marry this man. When one man gets the dough, even his chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. The brother-in-law is the man, and we are the chickens and dogs. Thanks to my brother-in-law's generosity, my family's life improved tremendously. My brother-in-law is the benefactor of our family. I still thought so until the second before he forced me to drink. First, he used the excuse of being close to school to have me move into their home, to maintain her image of gentleness and filial piety. My sister had our parents move in as well. He asked me which university I wanted to attend, and I said Q University. He was unhappy. "Then we won't be able to see each other often. When Lena grows up and meets more people, what if she starts to dislike her brother-in-law?" At the time, I didn't quite understand. Before the college entrance exam, he brought milk to my room and locked the door behind him. I was forced to drink and then pinned on the bed and assaulted. The world was spinning, everything was drifting away, becoming still. The first thing I did upon waking was crawl out to tell my parents that my brother-in-law had violated me. They were stunned for a moment, then said uncomfortably, "Why is there such a strong smell of alcohol? You little brat, not learning anything good, drinking and spouting nonsense." My brother-in-law knelt crying in front of my sister, saying I seduced him and he couldn't resist for a moment. I shouted that it wasn't like this and lunged at him, ready to perish together. I was slapped across the face. Sister, dad, and mom watched me warily, firmly stating that I had seduced my brother-in-law, because they hadn't heard any sounds of struggle. After this incident, my brother-in-law became even more brazen. Every night, he would barge into my room like a demon. During the college entrance exam, I picked up the test paper, but I couldn't make out a single word on it. My mind was filled with filthy images. I handed in a blank answer sheet. I walked out of the exam hall feeling like my life was ruined. The boy I liked the most confessed to me, but I didn't have the courage to look him in the eye. I felt abandoned by the whole world. My brother-in-law smirked smugly. "Perfect, now you can be my little canary." I slapped him and bit off his ear with all the strength I could muster. I was beaten half to death, my head bleeding incessantly as I lay on the floor, my eyes wide open in a deathly stare, seeing me dead. My sister sighed in relief, and as she stuffed me into a transparent bag, her eyes held a hint of amusement. Mom wiped away the blood. muttering about how there was so much of it, with nothing but impatience. It had been a long time since she'd done any housework. Dad dug a big hole in the garden, threw me in, and my vision was engulfed in red as I struggled to move my hand. Dad, I'm still alive. He saw it. He must have seen it, expressionless. He zipped up the bag, kicked me into the hole, and quickly began filling it in. The people I once considered family were all demons who killed me. Given a second chance at life, I'll make you repay me double. Gao Chong stuffed a red envelope into my hands, saying, a girl should dress up and buy pretty clothes. I glanced at my faded, washed-out clothes as he had already slipped the red envelope into my pocket. His hand lingered on my shoulder, slid down my back to my waist, then withdrew naturally. It was his habitual groping move. I looked up to find him staring at me, his gaze utterly bare. Before I could process it further, my mother pulled me away to accompany the bride for dinner. She held my hand and my sister's, praising my sister while belittling me. The family depends on your sister. You must be filial to her in the future. My sister was stunningly beautiful and eloquent, always knowing how to make our parents happy. After she started dating a wealthy boyfriend, she dressed in gold and silver, frequently buying things for our parents, making them adore her even more. My tuition was paid by my sister. About me, she noted every detail in her account book. Lena, you'll have to pay this back when you grow up. Everything we eat and use is paid for by my sister. Where does my sister get the money? I tore off a chicken leg and took a big bite. Dad was completely drunk. Look how successful your sister is. You can't do worse than her in the future. You hear me? He knocked on my head. I hate it when people knock on my head. I stared straight at him, forgetting to breathe for a moment, still talking back. He knocked even harder. It's time to go to school. I specifically took leave to come back today. Mom stopped me outside, and I knowingly handed over the red envelope. Don't accept money from your brother-in-law anymore. Understand? It's embarrassing for our family. I nodded. The envelope originally contained 1,000, but I had already taken out 800. What are you going to do? To school. The college entrance exam is coming soon. Mom gave an "oh" in response. In the past, my family paid special attention to my studies, but now they've adopted a hands-off approach with me, shifting their focus to my sister. To be precise, it's my brother-in-law. There are 73 days left until the college entrance exam. As I touch the thick stack of test papers, my heart burns with determination. The homeroom teacher, with her neat short hair swaying, talks endlessly on the podium. The boy I have a crush on is buried in taking notes. His bangs so long they almost cover his eyes. I really want to brush them aside for him. He raised his head, and I quickly averted my gaze, my face burning involuntarily. My heart was pounding fiercely, as if I had narrowly escaped a disaster. But I knew the real disaster was yet to come. At the school gate, a few bleached-haired troublemakers often stood around, smoking and eyeing the girls passing by. As I walked by, the hooligans whistled. I stopped and glared at them. They averted their eyes. What the hell are you looking at? Never seen a handsome guy before. I crunched the candy in my mouth, sweet as honey. Big brothers, do me a favor. In a few days, there will be a heavy rain in the evening, and Jiao Cheong happens to pass by, giving me a ride home. Seizing the opportunity, he lets me stay at their place. I won't disrupt the storyline. The unknowns brought by the butterfly effect are terrifying. What I need to do is take the initiative. The day soon arrives. I stand at the school gate, remembering that day when I waited for 5 minutes. The rain grew heavier, and worried about missing the last bus, I dashed out clutching my backpack. The clothes were quickly soaked through. Jiao Chong leaned out of the car window. Lena, your brother-in-law is here to pick you up. Get in the car. I pretended to be grateful and was about to run over, but a thug pulled me away. They tore my clothes and slapped my face. Help, The thug was dumbfounded. Sis, you're one tough cookie. Say some curses. Can you at least manage a sinister laugh? I whispered instructions. Over there. Jiao Chong approached with a stick in hand. Seeing only one person, he breathed a sigh of relief. Get lost now. Before I call the cops. I coughed a few times, and the other thugs emerged from the shadows. I pressed close to the thug and whispered, beat that man to death. A kick landed on my stomach, and I collapsed to the ground, staring ahead pleadingly. Brother-in-law, save me. He stood at the intersection, Hesitating to move, I shook off the thug and threw myself on him. Pinning him down firmly, gave the thug a meaningful look. The fight scene lasted 10 minutes, with the two lookouts at the alley entrance barking like dogs. Someone was coming, the thugs fled, and I wrapped myself in my clothes. Brother-in-law, please don't tell the family the truth, just say I fell. I don't want them to worry. Right now, I just want to focus on studying well. Gao Chong didn't seem to have any visible injuries on the surface. I specifically told them to aim for the fleshy parts. As I got in the car, Gao Chong suddenly glanced at me. Lena, how did you get involved with them? I shook my head and cried all the way while holding onto my clothes, but halfway there, my legs couldn't stop trembling. This wasn't the way home. Brother-in-law, where are we going? Zhonghuan Road is jammed, so I took a detour. Oh, brother-in-law, thank you for this time. Gao Chong glanced at me again and stopped the car. It was pitch black outside, with only the car's headlights illuminating the desolate village. Lena, I closed my eyes and yawned. In the deathly silence and dim light, I could feel Gao Chong's gaze fixed on me. I don't dare to look at him, teeth clenched tightly on lips. The window was tightly shut, the air reeking of a nauseating stench. Gao Chong lit a cigarette, took a few puffs, then suddenly moved closer to me. His pale face was expressionless. Have you also been reborn, brother-in-law? What are you talking about? I frowned. Rebirth, brother-in-law. Have you been reborn? Then why didn't you remind me to bring an umbrella today? I pursed my lips, pretending to be angry. Gao Chong's eyes darted around, the flesh on his face relaxing. Just joking. He pulled out a bottle of drink from somewhere. Thirsty. I took a small sip. He looked at me, pondering something unknown. I couldn't let him suspect me, so I took a big gulp. The car suddenly jolted. Seizing the moment, I spat it out. The car window was banged loudly. Hey buddy, you sure picked a great spot to park. It was a driver. He got out of the car, wanting to let it go, but the driver wasn't having it. What if you change your mind later and try to pin it on me? I turned my head and saw someone sitting in the taxi. I got out of the car to take a closer look, but there was no one there anymore. The driver sat aside smoking, watching us with a meaningful gaze. Some people. Pa, little girl, you shouldn't hang around with people like him. Gao Chong pointed at him. What do you mean by that? If you're so afraid of calling the police, could it be you've committed other crimes? Spreading rumors is illegal. I ran over and handed the driver a bottle of water. Gao Chong's car had 2 drawers, and I took a bottle from the left one. Just as the driver was about to drink, Gao Chong snatched it back. The water was indeed suspicious. If not for the accident of the car crash, I glanced at the driver gratefully. I said awkwardly, brother-in-law, I still have homework to finish. And I have early self-study tomorrow. Gao Chong regained his brother-in-law demeanor and hailed a taxi. The April wind already carried warmth, but when it blew over, I hugged myself and shivered slightly. I recalled Gao Chong's movements and expressions. It can be certain that Gao Chong has also been reborn. However, rebirth is premised on death. So how did Gao Chong die? I live in the room on the far right of the 2nd floor, right next to my sister and brother-in-law's bedroom. The walls are an elegant white, with a family portrait hanging right in the center. The bed is so soft that it sinks as soon as I sit on it, staring at the pink bedsheet. Filthy images assault my nerves. I lean against the desk and open the window for fresh air. Gao Chong strolls below, holding a cup of coffee, waving and smiling at me. The green plant by the window thrives luxuriantly. I imagine it accidentally falling, splattering Gao Chong's brains everywhere. The corners of my lips curled up involuntarily. I grabbed the potted plant. What are you doing? My sister appeared behind me. Your husband is really wonderful. I'm so envious of you. My sister gave an awkward smile and pinched my cheek hard with her freshly done nails. Lena is so pretty. Do you have anyone chasing after you at school? Yes, but they're all too childish. I like the mature and steady type, just like. I pondered, squinting my eyes, and grabbed my sister's hair. My sister yelped in pain. Lena Sue, are you crazy? I let go. Sis, you've got a white hair. My sister's face looked terrible. After marrying my brother-in-law, she became even more focused on managing her figure, strictly controlling her diet. Being as harsh on herself as some female celebrities, she went out without saying a word. I knew she was going to complain to Mom. When I was born, Mom had a severe hemorrhage and found it very difficult to have more children afterward. I've been pregnant twice, but both ended in miscarriages. Relatives didn't treat my mother well, and both Mom and Dad blamed me for it, sometimes getting angry for no reason. My sister was the one who added fuel to the fire whenever I achieved something remarkable. She would praise, "Lena is so outstanding, if only she were a boy." Those words were like needles, piercing precisely into everyone's hearts. The room isn't very soundproof, and I don't understand why they arranged for me to stay next door, newlyweds. The nightly noise keeps me from getting any sleep. I have no choice but to wear earplugs and earmuffs. In the morning, I accidentally saw my sister just after she woke up. Dark circles under her eyes, swollen lips, a dazed gaze, and bruised knees. Then I began to understand, she is the inferior one. I suddenly felt a bit sorry for my sister, but then I remembered that night when I cried out for her in my room, and no one came. What was she thinking next door? I hated her even more. Mom was shouting for me downstairs, and I answered while running down. "My hand is cut, go buy some band-aids." I grabbed an umbrella to go, but Mom snatched it away. "It's just a short distance. Don't be such a delicate flower, hurry up." She pushed me out. And I saw her glance at my sister, that was also the gaze of someone in an inferior position. "Look, I did pretty well, didn't I? Did you enjoy it?" I was wearing a short-sleeved shirt, and under the blazing sun, I walked 2 kilometers to the pharmacy. The early cicada is chirping, a newly emerged one, still tender and yellowish, with its discarded shell lying beside it. As the wind blows it to the ground, the cicada's wings gradually harden, and it flies away without a trace of nostalgia. "Sister, if the person next door weren't me, how would you react?" I subtly express my affection for my brother-in-law. After class, I fold stars, filling an entire box with them, each one carrying the most venomous curse. I presented my gift to Jiao Cheong like offering a treasure. "Brother-in-law, thank you for picking me up that night. I'm so glad you came, even though you got hurt because of it. I didn't know what you'd like, but my classmates enjoy giving each other stars, so I just..." Jiao Cheong looked surprised, then smiled and pulled me into a hug. "Thank you, Lena. This old man is receiving stars for the first time. As long as you like it." I lowered my head, fidgeting with my fingers. "Brother-in-law isn't old, really. Which university are you planning to apply to?" "I haven't decided yet." "Brother-in-law, you're well-traveled and knowledgeable. Do you have any suggestions?" Jiao Cheong enjoyed being flattered. His corpse-pale face flushed slightly as he said, "Let me think. It's better to choose somewhere close to home." I turned to my sister, who was painting her toenails, and asked, "Sister, what do you think?" "Of course, I agree with your brother-in-law," my sister replied with a laugh, her dimples appearing. Red nail polish dripped unevenly onto the top of her foot, and she scrubbed at it vigorously. The lights in Mom and Dad's room went out. They were used to keeping early hours. On ordinary days, she hardly ever ran into Jiao Cheong. Jiao Cheong had acted earlier than in their previous life. He curried favor, taking their parents to luxury venues every day, buying Dad a car with a chauffeur and getting Mom an annual membership at an upscale beauty salon. He accelerated his kindness towards his parents, immersing them in a golden dream so beautiful they couldn't bear to wake from it. In the previous life, he grabbed me by the hair, pressed my face against his flabby belly, and bragged on the phone with a smug expression, "Old Liu." I slept with a high school girl. Damn, she was so tender. Hair, worth raising those parasites for 3 years, a bunch of country bumpkins who've never seen the world. You're something else. Marrying a young, beautiful wife and then screwing her little sister too. Had I known they were such pushovers, I should have made my move way earlier. Damn it, Mom and Dad are timid and insecure when their child gets bullied at home. They first look at the other family's clothing. If they appear wealthy or powerful, they put on a flattering smile. Kids will be kids. Let's not involve the adults. What Mom and Dad taught me was to keep my head down. I wonder, do they really bow their heads in every situation? I can't wait to get started. And neither can I. I took out the diary from under the bed. Today is my sister's wedding, although she and her fiancé have been together for 3 years. I only met him once during last year's New Year. It seems everyone is very satisfied with him. Frowning, what does he have besides money? Why do Mom and Dad favor my sister so much? It must be because of her fiancé. If I married a rich man like him, would they be willing to kneel down and tie my shoelaces too? I was so scared. A few thugs dragged me into an alley. If my brother-in-law hadn't come, I might have been. I keep dreaming about my brother-in-law these days. What should I do? I think I've fallen for a married man. How wonderful it would be if I were the one married to my brother-in-law. I wouldn't have to suffer their bullying, and Mom and Dad would treat me like a treasure. As for my sister, her attitude toward me is getting worse. She'll regret it. Oh my God, am I dreaming? My brother-in-law said he likes me. How should I respond? Deep nail marks still remain on the diary. My sister must have been furious when she read it. She loves snooping through my diary. Since childhood, I've been a bit boy crazy, writing about my crushes in the diary. I had a crush on the son of the convenience store owner and often lingered around his shop, buying 20-cent snacks each time, just to hear him say a few words. 20 cents, 20 cents. His voice is really pleasant. That was my greatest joy during that time. One day, as usual, I went to the small shop at noon. The weather was so hot that even dogs wouldn't move. I deliberately chose this time to leisurely enjoy my alone time with him. Before I even reached the door, I heard his familiar laughter, intermittent and soft. Tears streamed down my face, and for a moment, I was grateful to my sister for helping me identify that scumbag. How did I find out she was reading my diary? She told me herself during those days of captivity. Lena, why aren't you writing in your diary anymore? I loved reading it. You have no idea how satisfying it was to crush your dreams one by one. Now, sister, it's my turn to shatter your dreams. I picked up the pen. Tomorrow is Mom and Dad's 30th anniversary. What gift should I prepare for them? Brother-in-law told me not to lock the door tomorrow night. I wonder what he means. Will he come to chat with me at night? I should wear that black nightgown, the same one as my sister's. Birthdays, wedding anniversaries, these symbolic, ritualistic dates. Our family never used to celebrate them. Now it's different. The whole family is discussing making it a grand occasion. It was Gao Chong who suggested it. After all, relatives and friends all came to the house, with red wine and champagne, and a dance party. It was an incredibly splendid scene. Mother still had her charm. And with her makeup, she looked 10 years younger. Father wore a suit for the first time, walking awkwardly, which was quite amusing. Gao Chong held his sister's arm as they toasted among the crowd, speaking with grace. My sister couldn't hide her joy, her smile wide as she caught sight of me approaching in a red dress. She grew nervous and stepped closer. I raised a glass of juice to toast her. Her glass tilted, threatening to spill on me, but I dodged just in time. Assume the worst intentions from your enemies to avoid many surprises. After the guests left, Gao Chong said, Lena has school tomorrow, so let's go to bed early. I nodded obediently. My sister pulled her husband along, saying, let's go to bed early too. I was packing things up with the nanny while my dad lay there, completely drunk. I turned him over, and he vomited all over the floor. Even after cleaning up, the whole room smelled disgusting. Mom walked to the doorway and cursed in disgust. Go sleep in my room. It was very late at night, and my mother was holding me up, just like when I was little, clutching the hem of her clothes in the dark to go meet my father. Mom, I want some water. It had been a long time since I last shared a bed with my mother. She tossed the quilt onto the floor. It's too hot. You sleep on the ground. I glanced at her with disappointment. Outside, the cicadas were chirping irritably, and I pressed against the wall. Listening to time pass second by second, the door creaked open. Lena. Footsteps deliberately lightened in the darkness. Movement came from the bed, and a few minutes later, I heard my mother wake with a start. She let out a sharp cry. It was cut short. Gao Chong froze, and neither of them spoke. I had already turned on the light, screaming in terror like a supporting actress in a horror movie, crying and calling for my sister. My sister didn't come out. Sigh, what was I even hoping for? Gao Chong, naked, was about to come down to grab me. Mom could no longer speak a word, only crying incessantly. I screamed like a madman and ran downstairs. Dad was snoring thunderously. I shook him, but there was no response. Gave him a few slaps. He opened his eyes, with a look that could kill. Mom and brother-in-law. My brows furrowed into the shape of the character. They were together. I found it hard to speak, casting a sympathetic glance at Dad. Then, like a frantic badger darting up and down, I frantically pounded on my sister's door. "Sis, wake up, something terrible has happened." Gao Chong awkwardly pulled on his clothes, forcing an embarrassed smile as he said, "It's a misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding. How did Mom end up in Lena's bed?" With tears in my eyes, I said, "What do you mean, brother-in-law? You've really let me down." Mom smiled and said, "It's so late, nothing major is happening. Everyone should go to sleep." My sister, still half asleep, mumbled, "Why is everyone gathered here? There was just a mouse." "Yeah, it's huge." The family smiled with wrinkled faces. Dad never came up the whole time, but Gao Chong offered him a cigarette, which he took and smoked. Mom rushed over to kick and hit me. "It should be yours. Mom, you're the one who made me roll off the bed. Did you do it on purpose?" I looked at Gao Chong and my sister, suddenly smiling, afraid that brother-in-law and I would sleep together, stealing sister's place. "Sister, the room isn't soundproof. With all that noise for so long, why didn't you come in? Such great sleep quality. I never want to enter that room again. I'm moving out." My sister tugged at me. "Get out, the farther the better." Gao Chong couldn't get a word in edgewise. Frustrated, he ruffled his own hair and snapped, "Stop arguing. If you don't want to leave, then shut up." Everything seemed unchanged, but the embers buried deep in the bonfire were about to ignite. All it needed was one more gust of wind. I moved out. During the day, I buried myself in practice problems at school, and at night, I kept my eyes glued to the surveillance feed. I had installed a hidden camera in the living room. Mom and sister watch TV at home during the day, while Dad always comes back very late. I sometimes see Gao Chong pulling Mom away, and she comes out of the storage room with her clothes in disarray. Sister and Dad pretend not to notice. When she's alone, sister throws things and beats the maid. Once, she dressed seductively, knelt on the ground, and flattered, "That's my mom. Don't treat her like that." Gao Chong closed his eyes. "Haven't I been good enough to you all?" Dad came home later and later. I followed him on the weekend and found out he was keeping another woman. That woman was even younger than my sister. I took a photo and sent it to my mom as a gift. From as far back as I can remember, my parents have been deeply in love. They were childhood sweethearts, growing up in the same village, and were each other's first love. Dad makes the decisions in our household, but the real authority actually lies with Mom. What was Mom's expression when she received the photo? Unfortunately, she was looking down, so I couldn't see her face clearly. She sat for a long while. The screen remained still, as if frozen. When Dad returned, she happily went to greet him. Lately, she seemed like a child who had done something wrong. Personally cooking meals for Dad and buying him clothes, she would never sleep unless Dad came home. She said, "Let's move out." Dad said, "We're living just fine. Why move out?" When Dad stopped loving Mom, the power of speech shifted back to him. Sister watched coldly. Dad came home drunk again, and through the screen, I saw the hickey on his neck. He collapsed onto the sofa, and something fell out of his pocket. Mom brought him hangover soup and picked up that thing. It was a woman's thong. She remained motionless in the same posture for a long time, just like when she looked at the photo that day. Suddenly, she burst into loud laughter. She grabbed a kitchen knife and swung it at her father. Her father wrested the knife away and plunged it into her mother's heart. The blood splattered high, adding red dots to the lens. Sister covered her mouth. "Dad, you're crazy." "That's Mom," Dad said expressionlessly. "Come here quickly, help me clean up." My sister has always obeyed Dad since childhood. She wiped the blood off the floor with tears in her eyes. Mom's eyes were on me. I smiled at the screen. "Let's not meet in the next life." I rubbed my eyes, and the door creaked. "Lena, your brother-in-law is here to see you. Stop hiding, I know you're here." "The light is still on." He rubbed his hands together. Looking around, I stepped out of the bathroom, my hair dripping with water. He couldn't wait to run over and vanished in an instant. Lying on the floor, I laughed and said, "Brother-in-law, I don't know anything. It was you who sneaked into my house while I was showering and fell into the basement." Gao Chong jumped up, shouting and pounding the wall. "You bitch, you're really good at pretending." He made a call, but it didn't go through. I had just turned on the signal jammer, closed the door, and on the monitor, "The living room is tidied up." The next day, I packed my luggage, returned to the villa, and cried, "I miss home. I want to eat the beef rice bowl my mom makes." Where's Mom? My sister averted her gaze. She went back to our hometown. I turned my head to look and spotted a patch of freshly turned soil in the garden, with roses blooming vividly on top. The dark circles under my sister's eyes could no longer be concealed by foundation, and she kept glancing at her phone. Jio Chong is unreachable. Me, should we call the police? Dad and sister said in unison. No. At night, the house was haunted, ambiguous sounds, Mom's muffled sobs. Ghost, my sister screamed. Isn't that Mom? What ghost are you talking about? I went over to look, but there was nothing. I lowered my head and secretly smiled. The tape recorder played in the corner. Keeping Dad and my sister awake all night, their mental state deteriorating. Dad brings women home every other day, and those women wear my sister's clothes, putting on a show of affection with him in the living room. As for how my sister feels about Mom, all I know is, Mom dotes on my sister. After being violated by my brother-in-law, she kept glancing at my sister, waiting for her reaction. My sister averted her gaze. It really was a misunderstanding. Mom obeyed sister. Dad started calling himself the elder. Jio Chong stayed in the basement for 10 days, and still no one had reported him missing. Not many people care about you. I tore the bread and threw it down. His mouth hung open, his beard covering half his face. If you move too slowly, the rats will steal your food. Let me out, I'll give you anything. I was wrong. I tossed down a bottle of water. Why have you also been reborn? Someone was following me, and I got into a car accident. Truly. The wicked are punished by heaven. Why didn't the accident happen sooner? In the villa, my sister was restless with anxiety. I said, could brother-in-law have been harmed? Did he have any enemies? My sister turned her gaze toward our father. At this time, Dad had a self-destructive streak, indulging in alcohol and sex. I think he missed Mom. My sister tentatively asked, could Jio Chong be dead? Dad cursed. Serves him right if he's dead. The inheritance is all yours. My sister panicked. He's already married. What do you mean? Jio Chong had a wife, but he only held the wedding to satisfy my sister's vanity. His wife turned a blind eye to it. Dad, you know where Jio Chong is, don't you? Dad looked utterly humiliated. This shock was even greater than when he found out his brother-in-law had slept with Mom. How could I have known? You're such a disgrace. Actually being the other woman. How dare you be the other woman? How will I face our ancestors after I die? Such shame. He kept hitting his own head and sighing repeatedly. My sister's shoulders shook as she suddenly burst into laughter. Didn't you enjoy spending that money? It all came from me selling my body. You. Dad slapped my sister and walked out in silence. When is Mom coming back? I chimed in. Father never came back. And the soil in that corner of the garden became looser. The rose bush lay toppled, withered by the sun. Sister grew even thinner. Yet she still dressed meticulously with flawless makeup every day. The final college entrance exam mobilization meeting. The school displayed the banner, through the winds and waves. The time will come. I'll set my cloud-white sail and cross the sea. The homeroom teacher called each of us into the office for a chat. Just like in my previous life, she said she had high hopes for me, advised me not to be careless or rushed during the college entrance exam, if I got stuck on a major question. Not to obsess over it but to move on, and not to let my imagination run wild in the essay. Finally, she pointed at the sunlight streaming through the window. Isn't it dazzling? I squinted. Yeah, remember, don't let red blind your eyes. I didn't quite understand. The school bell rang, and I hurried back to the classroom. The lease on the big villa expired. Monthly rent. We were kicked out. The nanny had long held a grudge against my sister and stole all the valuable things. I took her to the rented house. I cooked a bowl of noodles and went to read by myself. While my sister was eating the noodles, she heard a voice. Lena, I think I heard your brother-in-law's voice. No, you must be hearing things. She came over, watched me study, and absent-mindedly picked up a book to read. At bedtime, she held me tightly. I really heard it. It called out again. There's no sound at all, I said, patting her back. The food stored in the basement could last nearly a month. So we wouldn't starve for now. My sister stayed at home all day, stopped wearing makeup, and ate voraciously. She would cover her ears as soon as she heard my brother-in-law's voice. She still looked down on me. Bringing strange men here again. I threw her luggage out, and she came back, smiling. She said, I'm hungry. She was in the room wearing only underwear. Her phone turned up to full volume, laughing non-stop. I put on my earplugs. The college entrance exam is just a week away. I frantically reviewed my mistakes and memorized English vocabulary. A pillow hit me, and my sister asked, "Why aren't you asleep yet?" At 1 a.m., I didn't respond. In no time, a bowl of noodles was placed on the table, covered with a golden yellow fried egg. I swallowed hard, looking at her with mixed emotions. "Sis, do you believe in parallel worlds? These past few days, I've been having a dream. In the dream, I was the one lying on the bed. Brother-in-law got me drunk and raped me. You didn't believe me, and I was beaten to death. Sis, you stuffed me into a bag." My sister touched her goosebumps and said, "You're making this up, right? I'm the only one who packed you. How could I possibly have the strength to stuff you in there?" The voice from underground grew fainter and fainter. When I returned that day, my sister was gone, and Gao Chong in the cellar had disappeared too. The room was in complete disarray. I quickly grabbed my luggage and rushed to a hotel. June 6th, went to check the exam venue. I was seated in the first position. I think I saw my sister. June 7th, it's raining. I smoothly hail a taxi, open the exam paper, and the words start to blur. Take a deep breath, and the words gradually come back into focus. The answer sheet slowly fills up. Many questions following familiar patterns. Leaving the exam hall, the surrounding noise feels oddly comforting. June 8th, the rain fell ceaselessly, leaving puddles on the road. I still managed to catch the bus smoothly. The driver wore a hat and mask, not as lively as last time. Arrived at the familiar Grand Villa. The driver revealed his true identity. Gao Chong. My sister stood downstairs holding an umbrella. I knelt on the ground, begging, "Please let me take the college entrance exam." Gao Chong dragged me downstairs with an obsession. "I've been underground for 20 days. How can I repay you?" Haha, don't even think about going anywhere today. Stay with me properly, serve me well, and I'll let you go next year. I lay on the ground, watching the exam admission ticket fall out of the bag. The rain fell harder, the floor was cold, my body felt heavy. I looked around and suddenly thought I should call out, "Sister, farewell, my only family." I even managed to smile. My sister rushed over and snatched the knife I had hidden in my sleeve. I was punched, and when Gao Chong saw the knife in his sister's hand, a wave of fear washed over him. He kissed his sister on the cheek. "Zoe, you saved my life. You wouldn't hurt me, right? I love you." The next second, the knife was plunged into Gao Chong's heart. Too shallow. Sister really hasn't done hard labor before. Gao Chong pulled it out. "You still want to die together, haha." Another knife plunged into Gao Chong's neck. That was the knife sister carried with her. Gao Chong's knife plunged into my sister's heart. Gao Chong collapsed onto me like a boulder. "Sister, I couldn't believe it. Why had this woman turned against us at the last moment? Why had she walked over?" My sister pushed Gao Chong away. "Stupid girl. You should put some effort into it too." She glanced at her watch and shoved something into my hands. It was a wad of cash. "After the exam, treat yourself to a good meal. Go travel, see the world. This money is clean. Don't end up like me. Go now, get out of here." I picked up my backpack. It was 8:55. The police sirens wailed in the distance. I stumbled while running, and then I remembered. I remember now, in my previous life, my sister died with me, lying in front of me, with a comforting smile. When my brother-in-law assaulted me, my sister had been drugged with sleeping pills. After learning the truth, she secretly tried to call the police. Her parents found out. Her sister scolded them. "Haven't you ruined me enough already?" She was imprisoned at home. Mom said to me, "Lena, you did this willingly. The wounds have healed. Reporting to the police will only ruin your reputation. It won't do you any good." I was terrified, afraid that if I disobeyed like my sister, I wouldn't be able to leave either, and then I'd miss the college entrance exam. I scored 0 on the college entrance exam and returned home. Several men had come to the house, squirming on the ground like maggots. I saw my sister lying there. Gao Chong was smoking nearby, injecting something into his arm. The light in Mom and Dad's room was off, their shoes placed outside. They were diligently playing the roles of the deaf and the blind. I picked up the ashtray and threw it at him. Later, sister held me, and I held her. Her embrace was very warm. "I still hate her." I fell again. and a strong hand helped me up. "Oh dear, little girl, what happened?" I clutched my exam admission ticket, my vision blurred. "I'm going to be late for the exam." The sound of sirens filled my ears all the way to the classroom door. As soon as I sat down in my seat, the loudspeaker announced, "The exam has already started 15 minutes ago. Late examinees are not permitted to enter." I kept rubbing my eyes, rubbing them incessantly. Finally, I could see the words clearly. The pen tip was firm, my thoughts clearer than ever before. When the exam ended, I got into a police car. "How is she?" The police handed me a tissue and said softly, "She only left after hearing you had entered the examination hall. She said she was very sorry." In the villa's garden, 2 bodies were unearthed. Forensic examination determined the woman was murdered, while the man had committed suicide. The police asked if I knew anything. I shook my head. At night, I slipped into the villa already cordoned off with police tape. Dishes were set out, and 4 candles were placed on the large cake. It had been a long time since the family had eaten a meal together. Dad, Mom, Sis. I got into Kew University. The evening wind was quite strong, and the candle flickered as if dancing. After the college entrance exams, we held a party. The homeroom teacher next door lost a bet and treated both our classes to a meal. "Lena Sue, if you become rich and noble, don't forget about me. You were always taking leave in the last month, yet you performed exceptionally well." Impressive. I raised my glass and smiled faintly, a toast to everyone. The room was too lively, so I stepped outside. Memories flashed by like a revolving lantern. I lifted my head, feeling an unprecedented sense of peace. He, who always wore a white shirt, walked over and said, "The moonlight is beautiful tonight." I smiled. "Yes, it is." Our homeroom teacher wouldn't let us drink and forced us to go home before midnight. The taxi arrived. She took a photo and waved me to get in. Her husband came to pick her up. Suddenly, I remembered something. "Teacher, I remember you had your own car, but I haven't seen you driving recently." She smiled. "Had an accident, left me with a shadow." The car drove off as she waved her hand at me. I shouted loudly, "Thank you." The end. Additional story. The homeroom teacher knew. I teach the senior year of high school, and Lena Sue has always been a very hardworking student. But to my surprise, she handed in a blank exam paper during the college entrance exam. After the exam, she cut off all contact with the school. I wondered if she had encountered some difficulties. As a teacher, I wanted to persuade her not to give up on her studies and consider repeating the year. After asking around, I finally found her home. Her parents said, "Lena got involved with a wealthy man and went abroad." I returned home in shock. During that time, I often thought of Lena Sue. How in the classroom, her eyes sparkled, her back was straight, and she listened to the teacher with lightly pursed lips. Something must have happened to Lena Sue. Throughout the summer, I followed her parents and a man named Gao Chong. When a man gets drunk, he always ends up spitting something out from his mouth. I followed Gao Chong to the bar, and he stumbled out, bragging to his friends about his achievements. I got into the car, angrily pounding the steering wheel as tears uncontrollably streamed down my face. Lena Sue was supposed to have a bright future ahead of her. After calling the police, I followed behind Gao Chong. That day, the rain was pouring heavily, and with students returning to school, the roads were congested. Suddenly, a truck came speeding from the opposite side, heading straight toward a school bus filled with students. In the blink of an eye, I stepped on the gas, increased the horsepower, and rammed into Gao Chong's car. His car veered into the middle of the road and was sent flying, absorbing part of the truck's impact. I then drove forward, and the truck came to a stop. My consciousness faded soon after. When I woke up again, I found myself reborn. In this life, Lena Sue was even more determined and clever. I knew she had also been reborn. I called her into the office to discuss academic matters, and she nodded earnestly. Suddenly, I felt a strong urge to hug this frail-looking girl. In the end, I averted my gaze and said to her, "Don't let the color red blind your eyes. Don't let hatred blind your eyes. The sunlight is harsh. Staring at it for too long will only backfire." I hope she has a bright future ahead of her.